to enjoy every provision that God has made available for us. And when we achieve success, it is not enough. It is not just enough to achieve success. We also must know how to sustain it. Not just sustain it, then when we are able to sustain it, we will now enjoy it. That's where savor comes in. That is when we get to enjoy our success. Now, taking us on this topic is Mrs. Adetola Akintomide. Now, before I call her to the podium, I would like to tell us a few. I'd just like to give us a few information about who she is. She studied at the University of Ife and now Obafemi Awolowo. She also studied at the University of Lagos and the Lagos Business School. She started her career in the public service before moving to the financial sector of the economy. She worked in both sectors for a period spanning over 30 years before retiring to start a private business. She currently runs a few businesses in the manufacturing sector of the economy. One of it is known as Prime Bread. Have you seen Prime Bread anywhere? Who has seen Prime Bread? Raise up your hand. Raise up your hand if you've seen Prime Bread. You have not seen Prime Bread. That's it, the truth. Me, I've seen it. Anyway, so she's also a member of several professional bodies, Chartered Institute of Bankers, Nigerian Institute of Management, Chartered, and many others. And she is a certified action learning coach. Now, with Jesus Joy, and with great pleasure and with a clap ovation, you can stand up if you want. Let's welcome our minister for today, Mrs. Adetola Akintomide. Let's keep clapping till she comes to the podium.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Please sit down. I almost didn't realize she was talking about me. That sounded so fantastic. Good morning. Let us rise up for a very short prayer. We thank God for the grace to be here today. We thank God for the mercy, the grace, and the favor that the Lord has granted unto us to be present today, and for all the good things that He has done in our lives. We ask that Father will give us the grace to learn a couple of things from each other today that will help us as we go along in our life. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Please sit down. Thank you very much. Let me first appreciate the executive of the Youth Council for giving me this opportunity to be here today. It's certainly a very interesting one for me because I'm certainly going to learn from you, just like you're going to take a couple of things from me. The topic for the day says succeed, sustain, and savor. There was something I picked up from the person who conducted the prayers. She said something about praying to add value. Did I get that correct? Yes, there was a particular prayer that says pray to add value. And that's a very, very key aspect of this topic, really, when you actually think deeply of what it means. I'm going to try as much as possible to make it a little bit interactive because there's so much going on in the world now that if we're not careful, we will miss it. You understand what I mean by missing it? When you intend to walk in the path that God has planned for you to walk, but there's so much distraction that you unconsciously follow the wrong path. Who can tell us what you understand by succeed, sustain, and serve? I know she said something about that in the course of prayer, but who can say it the way you understand it? Can somebody help us? Just say it anyhow. Succeed, sustain, and savor. Who can just tell us what you understand by that? Nobody? Okay. I'll take it from there. You know, before you get to the point of saying you are succeeding at something, it means you have already identified what you are doing, isn't it? You understand what I mean? You have to first and foremost identify what you are doing for you to be able to know if you are succeeding at that thing. In life, every individual seated here actually has a purpose for which we're in this world. Do you agree with me? We all have a purpose for being here. The only thing is that some people identify their purpose much earlier than others. And the reason why some people don't identify their purpose as quickly as they should is because there's so much distraction going on around us, either at home, in the environment, from our peers, the friends we have, the kind of friends we keep. So it is after you have identified your purpose or a particular action you're taking that will enable you to know if you are even succeeding at what you are doing at all. Am I making sense? Because if you don't know what you are doing, there's no way you can measure. There's no way you can measure the level of success you have attained. And it is after you have now succeeded and identified the fact that you have succeeded that you can now sustain or plan to sustain that success. Then when you sustain the success, sustaining means making sure that you don't go below that success level that you have attained. Instead of going below, you are doing what? You are increasing it. That's sustaining it. It's not standing in one place. So, you know, sustenance is not standing in one place. Sustenance is you've identified a level and you've told yourself, I will never go below this level. Instead, I'll be going higher and higher and higher. Now, when you now get to a point where you know that, yes, you have stabilized that success, that's when you can sit back, right? And say, yes, I can now enjoy all the hard work I put into this issue or this project that I have succeeded on and I have sustained for this length of time. A Bible passage on this is in the book of Genesis, chapter 26, verse 13. Can somebody please read it? Genesis chapter 26, verse 13. Who's going to read for us? Okay.
The man began to prosper and continue prospering, became very prosperous. Should I go on?
It's okay.
All right.
And the man waxed great, from my own version, and went forward and grew until he became very great. The verse just before that, that's verse 12, so that we understand that 13 very well, says, then Isaac sowed in the land. Then Isaac sowed in the land and received in the same year an abundant at this 100-fold, and the Lord blessed him. It's very nice for us to take that from verse 12 so that we understand that the success that was referred to in verse 13 did not just come like magic. You understand? The success referred to in verse 13, which says, and the man waxed great and went forward and grew until he became very great. There must have been something he was doing right? Before it got to that point where it says he waxed great. That means he became greater. But there was something he was doing. It wasn't just a greatness that just fell on his laps. In the course of prayer, she said something about that also, that it is not magic. There has to be something you're doing that will take you to the greatness that you're looking forward to attaining. If we look at life today, you realize that there's so much going on that can very easily confuse anybody, and particularly youths. I say particularly youths because we all know that there's a stage in life where you have some kind of anxiety. You have some expectations, some things you think you should have achieved. And you're probably looking at somebody else and saying, this person has achieved this. Why have I not achieved it? You know, it happens to us at any stage in life, either as a young person or even an old person, as old as I am. Sometimes you sit down and think, oh, there was this thing I planned to do and I've not done it. It's like, I think I failed in that area. So it happens to everybody. Now, the real issue now, why it's very important and why I like this topic for us is that there are two ways to succeeding in life. Do we agree? Do we agree with that? Please answer me. Yes. Who can tell us the first one way? Don't let me say first way. One way. Whatever you know, just say it. Anybody? Yes, ma'am.
To go through the right way.
Fantastic. To go through the right way. Who can tell us the second one? The opposite of that, isn't it? Fast pace. Fantastic. The opposite of straight or maybe bend. Let's start from the fast pace, right? You know, in life, it's always good to say, let me say use school, for example. Maybe two people in a class. One person, after the result comes out, maybe had, what do you call it, first position, right? And another person had maybe like 10th position. Maybe they live in the same house. The likely thing is that when they get home, what will the parents do? The parents are likely to hug the person that came first and probably say, I'm going to give you something special for performing so well. What happens immediately? The person that scored or got the 10th position will do what? He will do what? He will feel bad. He will feel like going to hide because there's already some kind of comparison between the two of them. That is what happens in life. So you now find out that that person that came 10th will be looking at the person that came first with one kind eye. It's like, so this one can do better than me. If you are not careful, you start thinking of what you would do to that person negatively to make you supersede, right? That person. Meanwhile, you might just find out that all you need to do is to just spend some time to maybe discuss with that person and ask how he was able to achieve coming first. And he will probably explain to you, and you now follow it too, and you realize that, oh, all I needed to do was to have studied maybe a little harder. You understand what I'm saying? All I needed was maybe instead of studying for 2 hours, I probably studied for 3 hours, and I'll find out I understand it a lot better. You see that there are two ways to be thinking now. It's either I'm thinking of doing something to that person, or I'm thinking of learning from that person for the positive learning. You find out nowadays that there's so much pressure, not only from the environment where we find ourselves, Also from that thing we all carry about that we call phone. Abby? Our phones. It's even a lot more of pressure now than the environment. Because you see so many things on the phone, social media, that makes your heart feel, am I getting it right? Maybe I'm not even doing the right thing. So there's always that tendency that you are struggling between going the right way or going the crooked way in order to succeed. Am I making sense? There's always a struggle with the things in your environment, with you wanting to either follow the right path to success or go the other way, do other things that people are doing that seems to be making them succeed so quickly. But we all know that whichever way we look at it, if our aim is to sustain the success we achieve and be able to, at a certain point in time in life, enjoy it, it is never a good idea to go the wrong way. Let me cite an example. Very recently, you would have been hearing a lot of stories in the news of people. There was even one case of a young man that said himself and his mother went to some priest who told, well, Babalawo, I mean, not church priest, Babalawo, who told them that all they need to do is get somebody to use for ritual purpose. And what came to their mind? Are we aware of that story? Is anybody aware of the story? Nobody? You are aware? Okay. So they decided that how would they get one human being to use? According to the boy, he said his mother told him that they should use his younger brother. That they should use his younger brother in order to become rich. But tell me, if eventually, let's even assume it is true. I really don't know if killing somebody will make you rich. But let's even assume that it is true. Do you think they can enjoy or savor that kind of success? Can they? No. Because somewhere at the back of the mind of the mother and the brother, the memory of what they used to do it will always be there to haunt them for their entire life. So they cannot enjoy that kind of wealth. Is that good success? That is certainly not good success. But you can imagine another person who, for example, maybe all he had to do was go to school, study hard, come out of school with some qualification. Maybe what you decide to do is get a job, or you decide to start a business, but you do it steadily. You follow the process that you're meant to follow. Do you know that what will happen in that kind of situation is that success will appear to be gradual. It will be gradual. It will appear to be slow. Do you agree with me? It will appear to be slow, but you're getting it at the right time, such that by the time you finally succeed, you understand what you did for you to get there. You understand what you did for you to get to that point of success. So that gives you also clear understanding of what you have to do for you to be able to sustain it. And when you're able to sustain it for maybe a period of time, you can sit back and enjoy that kind of success because nobody is chasing you. You didn't kill somebody to get there. You did not steal somebody's money to get there. You did not maybe defraud maybe your organization to get there. So that's the kind of success that you will find yourself enjoying at the end of the day. But now let's look at how easy it is to achieve success. Because the life now is so fast-paced, everybody wants to get there very quickly. You even had cases of 19-year-olds, 17-year-old, and 20-year-old or so who felt that they needed money right now. And they did what? They called one of their friends, invited her, and they did what to her? They cut off her head, and they decided that they wanted to use the head to get money. However fast that money appears to be coming, they can never sustain it. Because what it means is that money that you get so quickly, you will tell yourself that another one will come. You just be spending it anyhow. You won't even think, you won't be able to think, in fact, of what to do to ensure that you maintain and sustain that success you seem to have achieved. And neither will you even enjoy it. But if you went through a process that you know what you had to do to get to the point where you succeeded in life, then it means you have a clear understanding of what you do to sustain that success. And therefore, it makes it easy for you to sit down and sit back and enjoy what you have succeeded at doing. Because any success that you don't grow through it, you understand what I mean by growing through it? It makes it very difficult for you to even know what you are doing. Nowadays, you find out that there's so much going on about quick money, quick success. If you do this, you even have the ones that will scam you and say, if you put 100 naira here, we'll give you 3,000 naira. And a lot of people would think that looks like a good way to go, and you want to try it. But at the end of the day, what will happen to that kind of success? You will lose it, because they are all there to scam you. They will appear to give you money the first time, and then they'll make you, it's like those people that go and do, what do you call it? Eh? Sorry? No, I didn't get that. Oh, oh, that's a good one. MMM is a good one, actually, where they will say, if you bring 1,000 naira, we'll give you 50,000 naira in 1 week. Abi? It's something like that. And some people will forget. You should ask yourself and say, what will they do with 1,000 naira that will generate 50,000 immediately? But you know, people, because of this quick, this wish for us to make money very quickly, we think that, it's very possible. It's very possible, we'll give them. But the truth about it is that if they collect money from people and they invest it in whatever investment they are put it in, it cannot generate that kind of profit immediately. Abi? It cannot. At least it will take a little while. If you put whatever it is you put it in, it will take at least maybe 1 month, 2 months, 3 months or something for it to generate something. But people don't think of that. They just think, no, there must be something they are doing. There must be something they are doing. You put your money there. They help you for a little, give you face for a while. After like 1 month or 2, you don't hear them again. In actual fact, you now call their numbers. You will not be able to reach them. So because of all of these things that are happening now, you have to put your mind at realizing that while it is important to aspire, it is very important to aspire to succeed. That is the fundamental human expectation. We also have to think of deciding on how we want to make that success happen. During prayers earlier on, she said, reading through the whole of the scripture, so many verses we never wish anybody to fail. Do we agree? God expects us to succeed at whatever we lay our hands on. But what it will require us to succeed, which is patience, is what a lot of us fail to have. So before we get to that point of success, we already say, oh, what's this one? I'm trying for my 1 year now. Nothing is coming out of it. And maybe that is the point where you're about breaking into your success. So when you already identify your purpose, started by saying everybody has a purpose in life. When you already identify your purpose, you need to also, at the back of your mind, tell yourself, I need to be patient for me to succeed. Because if you don't have patience to success, the tendency is that just at the point when you are getting to succeeding, you will decide and say this thing is not working. How many people has it happened to? It has happened to you. I know a lot of people it has happened to you. When, for example, they start businesses and they put in money, they start doing it. Maybe after like 6 months, 8 months, 1 year, they say, what am I doing in business? I can't do this. I know there's no profit. There's nothing. There's no distributor. They say it all. Then they go and start another one. When they start that other one, they probably encounter the same difficulty because they have not learned the lesson that they should have learned. Because there's nothing you start like that. But expect success to happen immediately. It happens. Not that it doesn't happen. But those are maybe how many percent, what percentage do you call that? Maybe like 10% in so many cases. In most cases, you have to be patient to go through the process. Going through the process until you get to the point where you can say, yes, I have succeeded. Sometimes that process might even take you 5 years. That is why it's very important that whatever you decide to do, whatever you decide to lay your hands on, you try and understand what it takes to succeed. You understand what I mean? It means it's either you see somebody who has done the similar thing and you want to talk to that person so that you can get some advice and mentor, or you want to read. There's a lot to read now. Internet, you don't have so many languages now. But if you go on the internet and type in whatever, anything, any stupid thing, you say, how to get my name? Something as stupid as that. You get the feedback. So from that feedback, just be patient to learn whatever you need to read for you to understand what you're putting yourself into. Because that's the only way you can actually have the patience to wait until you get to the point of success. And when you get to the point of success, you then also read beyond what you are doing. Because if you say, oh, I've succeeded, and then you sit down there, what will happen? You won't go. After success, you need to grow. You need to keep growing for you to sustain that success that you achieved. After you have done that, you get to a point where you can then clearly tell yourself that this much that I have done, I can now sit back because then you're beginning to see the profits. The profit does not have necessarily have to be money. It doesn't have to be monetary. Do you understand? It might not be monetary. The success might even just be the interaction you have with people. It might be feedback that you're getting from people. But you will be able to know that you go beyond that struggling state where you're still trying to get to where you need to. We bring it to our everyday life. Our everyday life means there are two parts to it. It's either because at this stage where we are now, we are certainly already doing something. It's either you're working, maybe a structured organization, doing businesses of your own. Even in the structure of the organization where you're working, do you know that you cannot just start from maybe if it's in grade, you cannot start from grade 1 and carry to grade 10. Is it possible? Is it possible? It means you have to work through, then promoted to grade 2, grade 3, grade 4, and that might even take you like maybe 2 years, depending on the kind of organization. But if you say, oh my God, this is going to take me like forever, and you move out, and you move into another organization, and you see that we want anything different, and you move out again, you probably keep moving out, and you not, that's what they call jack of all trades, right? You became master of none. And if on the other hand, you choose to go in the line of business, don't expect that business success is going to come overnight from the start. Because we need to understand first and foremost what you're doing and be able to put what it requires for you to succeed in place. And get all the help you can get in order to get to that point where you can actually be able to say, yes, I understand what I'm doing, and I know what I need to do to go beyond here to a more, should I say, a sustainable business environment, and then be able to start it. At the end of whatever it is we do in life, what we all expect to do is that we get to the point where we can sit back and look around and sleep in peace, isn't it? Not when you are sleeping and you have one eye open, because you don't know if somebody that you have been opened along the line is coming after you. Do you know what happens? There are a lot of things you did on those and the people who have done some everything along the way. Maybe the ones that use as example, who are going with all sorts of rituals and all that. They can't sleep because they've been dreaming. If somebody took another human being and used something to start cutting off part of the person's body, are you telling me you will not dream? It will dream. And it will be bad dream. It will be a very bad dream. So the tendency is that that person will not be able to sleep. He will have money, but he will not be able to enjoy the money. And the grace of God, whatever we may answer, God will give us the grace to be able to have the patience and the understanding that we require to be able to not just succeed at what we make, but for us to be able to sustain it to a point where we get to a stage in life we can actually sit back and thank God and say, oh, I did this, I did this, I did this, and I'm happy and I have peace of mind. And I'm not scared of anybody or any challenge. That the grace of God will get there in Jesus' name. I'll just kind of something. I can ask if anybody has a question. Any question, please? Yes.
Thank you, my brother. So, this one I have is a challenge for us now, like generation. How do you advise someone who have started well, who is trusting God to succeed, but along the line, there are a lot of temptations. You want to do the right thing, but this other side of it keeps coming, and it looks as if you are not going to escape it until you just get yourself into it. How do you advise us so that, because we have a lot of people who have a clean mind when we started, but by the time this temptation, this all around, you think here, you have not run away, you turn to the other side, you have not run away, eventually they give you. So I want to encourage us or give us a word of advice on what to do so that we will not get our hands.
Thank you. It's a very nice question. And I'll take us back again to the environment
where we find ourselves. We should assume that every human being, first and foremost, is good. Every human being, first and foremost, is good. You understand? But the environment, the kind of people you move with, the kind of information or books you read, the kind of things you watch, the way of influencing the way you think. And naturally, that will change your orientation. You understand? So, first and foremost, in everything that we do, there's a very huge part that prayer, the big part where prayer can play a strong role. I say a strong role because there's temptation everywhere. There's temptation everywhere. So you have to first and foremost pray to tell yourself in prayers that this is the way I want to go. Father. These are things I want to get myself involved in. So that first and foremost, before you face that thing, you kind of cover yourself with them. So by the time you face that situation, you are consciously calm. You know, there's a calmness that prayer brings to you. Once you pray about something, there's a calmness that comes over you. So that you're able to objectively look at whatever has been brought to you. Objectively in the sense that then you can say, this one, I'm going to get it. This one, so if it's difficult for you to say no right away, you can tell them, let me go and think about it. Let me pray about it. So praying about it, being beyond your own prayer. It's either you have a mentor or you have a figure. Might be your biological father. The mother figure will not be your biological mother. And somebody that you believe in and you can you trust in order to be able to give you the right direction. So important thing is never rush into taking a decision that you think might change the course of your thinking. Don't rush into taking a decision. There's always time. You don't say, oh, it might appear like this is not good because those kind of things come like now. Yes, when it comes to you, they nothing. You get like they are stupid. Let me use that word. I want to read this thing. Let me pray about it. Give the person like 1 hour or 2. Use that 1 hour or 2 to very quickly reach out to whoever you want to call. Whether your mentor or somebody that you trust. Not give you a long time. It happens in life. Let me use myself as an example. There was a time years ago when I found out that in the midst of it's like a couple of us were sharing an office. I was like only 50. I just realized that in that kind of situation, we let the folks have their own purpose because they have things that's something to do to discuss. If they are at the end of work, they are going to meet somewhere to whatever. But I realized that sometimes I'll be there talking about something. That was an investment. How you didn't tell me about this? I think you might not be interested. I said, when did people try me? Try me. So I sat down, I looked at it, asked questions. I wanted to know. I mean, honestly, it looks good. I even went to the extent of saying, oh, where is the office? They told me where their office was. I said, let's go and see the place. I said, we went there, we went there, we asked questions, we did everything, and everything was okay. By the end of the day, after a couple of maybe 1 year or something, somewhere down the line, there was a problem. You understand? There was a problem. I did, in my own opinion, I did due diligence. might still kind of help it. But what happens in that kind of thing is that when you're not sure, you don't go in with all your head, as you will say, because put one leg in and one and say, you might put the other one, so that way you don't put yourself too more than what you can. Am I making sense? So I think that's something that is key. Careful, identify a mentor or kind of somebody that is a bit more experienced than you in that particular area you want to show interest, so that you can get the right kind of advice.
The programs about the point is by using people, maybe another program maybe they are saying similar, maybe making and I think that you are going to feel this level. You allow for you being protected, you feel like let me do this. For those of you that need, they don't have and then let me see if I'm going to carry the I'm not going to frustrate or enjoy and investing something of that.
Great question, really. The truth of it is that I think it's like saying myself as an example. At least on my profile, you know that I work first in the corporate environment. And usually for those who work in corporate environment, where you're earning monthly salary, you have to move to business. It's certainly good to be tough. The reason why it's going to be tough is that you need to, you are different from somebody who started business as a young person. You know when somebody started business as a young person, you have like a, I'm trying to do from one of my friends before all these struggling and you need to go to understand this thing and we grow in that business. But if you come in, let me know from the level at which I will come into business. A lot of the growing things that a younger person has learned growing up, I might not be able to, because for whatever it is wrong, I probably didn't start at that level. What that means is I need to identify that. And what I need to do is bridge that gap. And bridging that gap means either I'm going to learn, or I'm going to read, or I'm going to talk to people who have been in that business before, for me to understand the challenges that I might face, so that I don't get the solution. Now, take the example that we just gave. I realize that some other products are doing better than me or mine. That's an great discouragement. I remember during COVID period, there was not even 20%. Products started going like mad. You buy something like 5,000 and all of a sudden, you buy 7,000, 9,000, 10,000. Because all of the products by now we're buying almost 2,000. Something that used to be 2019. Why those things say is that me, I can't give myself what is all this one, all this one. I better go and be sleeping in my house today. You do not go into that business without thinking. You know, there's a different thing somebody who saw, so everybody is doing like this. Let me follow. And somebody will say, oh, let me look at this one. And you try to understand what is going on. You must tell yourself that there has to be something I need to learn to do better. So what I would do is look at that product that seems to be doing better than mine. Try to identify what makes it better than my own, and then I try to improve it. I need to strategize, particularly for the kind of product I sell. We strategize as to how do I push it better into the market. But I certainly won't take the decision to close shop. But I know that that's the quickest thing for us to do. Because we'll be thinking of let me go start something else. Because that's something else that need to start, you also still have to understand it for you to be able to get to the point of success. I can start the question.
Praise the Lord. Sharing the Christ. Also, the time it was Zion who led the prayer session. I think she opened our minds into what success is all about. Personally, for me, I've always seen this the value additional thing. So when someone asks, this man successful, what God's mind is, what value has he added to life? And that's for me sums up the real essence of life. I mean, you can have the best of us, you can have the best of us. So I want to ask, because when you started, I was a bit not like what kind of success you were looking at, especially when we were the Bible pastor. And so the pastor talked about wealth, talked about prosperity. So for me, just put it in context, maybe by illustration. What is success? What is wealth or riches? And what is prosperity? The reason why I'm asking this is possible to have people who have been adding value to lives, ages, but they don't have a fat bank account. They don't have the best of cash. Can we say that they're not successful? That's one. And the second question also touches my own personal principles, which has to do with comparing yourself with one another. Talk about that even if the 10th position guy goes back to read, the first position is only for one person. There cannot be 10 followers. It's only one first position. And in academics, they will say if the score is the same,
That's why we will not sustain that. And once they are able to very quickly identify the problem, once you identify the problem, it's just for you to find solution. You know, that person is better than the person who just sits and says, I mean, that's the best I can do. There are two different people. So really, success has nothing to do with it has a lot to do with you understanding that you cannot be static. You cannot be complacent. You cannot be complacent. You know, there are some people in life when for example, I see this place because that's the most common thing. If you, let's say, think first, you say, think first. And then you'll be looking at everybody else like this. Forgetting that they too are looking at something. This person can come first. Why can't I? So they are there thinking of how to improve themselves. While you are probably they are thinking about what it is. And when you are thinking of what it is, you come and consider. You understand? So success has nothing really to do with it. Success has something to do with you. Understanding that you cannot be where you are. You cannot just be where you are and be happy. You have to aspire to do better than you did yesterday. There's one phrase that people say, I am aspiring to, I'm not in competition. Have you heard that before? I'm not in competition with anybody. I'm in competition with myself because I want to do better today than I did yesterday. I think that explains it. Am I clear? I'm sure that explains it. That you're not, your understanding of success is not for you to be looking at some other person. Stages, enjoy where you are. But you say better, right now, let me start from enjoyment. When you go beyond this age, when you get to a point of let's say retirement, or you can sit in peace, or knowing that nobody's chasing you because you're happy with it, that your conscience is troubling you. So you can eat, if what you just want to eat is over. You don't have to be thinking, oh, yeah, 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 yeah. You can eat it. You can wake up in your house, however small, and you're not thinking, no, we are going to for rent. You don't know this before. You understand? That's success. Even if that's your face, if one room cut into small space, but there's you feel happy when that nobody is coming to take it. That is success. Success is a point where you can tell yourself that when you're grown older, you can look at your children and you will feel happy with how far you are watching them. You understand? It's certainly not if you then because of growing up, you think that this is and you have one child that has become whatever. You know what you do is you can't have peace without going there. I think in this area. So the issue of substance is continuous. It's not that as you grow older, there's that part that comes like peace unto you. That I don't like this area. I say yes, I don't. Then differentiation between well, substance, and prosperity. These three has nothing to do with money. It has nothing to do with the amount of money you have in your pockets. It's in that sense. Of course, money plays a vital role. Now, the definition of wealth is not about somebody that you see, just like I said, that has a big car, a big house, and wears South Canada or whatever. It's not. That's not wealth. Wealth actually has to do with something you have acquired over time that you can say you can sustain. You understand what I mean? It's like I have a house, my investment, even where the people usually don't build houses like Alaska. Has anybody ever owned what's this one? How many people make books? You know, books here. Hmm? You see? Okay, if I start with one and finish it. If you like this, you will be right. So if you have reason to read about the lifestyle of that man, as rich as that man was, have you read about where he lives? Have you ever read about where he lives? And how long is he living in that house? He's a very, very wealthy man. Because he's talking house in the living since when he married his wife. He's very, very specific. So you'll be thinking that oh, this man is wealthy. Why is it like this? His wealth is not just because he's carrying cash. He's the influence. He's using that money. It's the things he's using it to affect. Let me put it that way. Affecting people's lives. That's actually his wealth. For success, I think I can explain success that as you go along every day and see yourself and what you did yesterday to today to the next. And the same thing for prosperity. It really has not much to do with when somebody is, like you see on social media now, and they carry dollar, they do like this, or they prove dollar. Recently, I saw one child that was calling maybe 5 years ago. The boy was going to pray, there was going to pray, decorated her, and they were putting money. Nobody goes to that kind of time. Because that is the picture that child is in her heart, in her head, growing up, thinking that that is success. So she's going to be looking for that kind of quick money. So if that kind of money will come, she thinks to herself, and meanwhile, that is not it. By the time they realize it, it will be difficult to correct. Am I making sense, please? I try to answer his question. Any other question? Someone have to watch me. Someone had there's this inspiration. Okay. Also, was watching something 30-second video. And there's this somebody asked what is because some of Nigeria is not, there's no standard in some. If you can produce anything and give them some, they will allow them. As a person,
are cutting corners and they are making a lot of sales. And you can hardly make sales to pay your employees, let alone your own profits.
Yes.
And you have this opportunity to also do the same thing. Well, it won't kill people. It may only add 1 or 2 ailments to them. What will you do? And if somebody is doing it that you know, probably somebody you are mentoring, what will you advise? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I like the question because the truth is that in life, if you take out integrity out of anything, it's almost like losing it. Let me put it that way. Then when you talk about people you look up to, mentoring and all that, life is such that there's no perfect human being. Do you agree? There's no perfect human being. So that's why when you said when you move close to such people, you now see 1 or 2, 3, you will always see something that you think, I didn't know that this person is like this. You will always see. But the only thing is that you give yourself a level of what you can accept. Let me put it that way. What you can accept. Because if you think you'll be looking for a perfect human being, nah. As you write, we say, it doesn't mean people do way out crazy things, no. But there will always be something that probably just does not agree with you that you just see. So you have to give yourself a certain level of, this can pass. You understand? And see what you want to gain from that person. Maybe it's in the business area or some corporate thing that you want to try and gain from that person. But now to talk to you, go to the issue of manufacturing. Manufacturing in Nigeria now is a terrible industry to go into. Terrible because you cannot predict what your costs of production is from one day to the next. Because everything you require changes by the day. That's why sometimes when I go through all those Ikeja, all those industrial areas in Ikeja and Oregun and all those places, sometimes I feel like weeping. Weeping in the sense that that was one area that was basically for production. A lot of all those, sorry to use the word, churches we see there now used to be structures that were built for manufacturing. But over time, they had to shut down, and then churches took them over. So a lot of businesses are like that, small, big, medium, that have had to shut down because they cannot sustain what it takes to continue with the business. But what I have had to do, because I really have been faced with that situation, you remember I mentioned something about COVID time and all that, where everything was so scarce, everybody was just trying to, get what they can get off people. Let's sell to them, they will buy it. But I tell people that instead of either using more than what you should or decreasing from the materials for production, it will make a lot more sense for you to say, okay, because I have to keep the business afloat. You can actually still maintain the brand, but maybe reduce the size. If you have the opportunity and you can still increase your retail price, then good, you can venture into that. But where you cannot, because like bread, for example, is very difficult. If everybody is selling a loaf at maybe 400 naira, and you go and start selling your own at 500, and you are within the same environment, nobody will buy it. Except there's something special about your own. And when it's something special, it's only a few people that will need it. So you probably still won't have as much sales as you want to have. Okay, but what I think helped me was that when I started, I actually started at what I'll call a low level rate. It was low, well lower than what that size of loaf was selling in the market. It was lower for two reasons. One, I was trying not to, I think I was still naive in business. So I wasn't trying to make so much profit, number one. Number two is that if you're pushing a new product into the market, if you start selling at the same rate that everybody is selling, and they are used to that one, nobody will buy your own. I said, that new one, let me buy the one I know. So it was a strategy to first make it a lower rate, be able to get into the market, and then when it became obvious that we had no choice because the cost was killing, we could then raise the cost to the rate of what was selling for the same size. But I do know that I have a couple of people who have come to me and said, your bread is too heavy. If you see the ones that are the same price, that if you hold them and press them like this, they will press. Reduce this thing a bit. I said, this is my brand. I'd rather stay with this brand and sell to those who want it than for me to start doing, and then maybe people will now start rejecting it and now be in problem. So for me, I've stayed within my brand. And I'm just hoping that as much as possible, so far we're able to break even, be able to pay our costs, staff and everything. I think for me, I say I'm home and dry than to start cutting corners. And if I see those who, like I've had reason to talk to some people, like I say, who come to advice and say, why don't you do like this? I say, me, I don't know the effect on people, but I won't like it if I buy a bread at 400 naira and I hold it and it presses like this, I will not go there again. So such people, you just offer your advice, but they might not take it, but your conscience will tell you that you are doing the right thing. Any other question, please? Yes.
Praise God.
Hallelujah.
Okay. I really want to appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
You have taken us from one class to another, then we have entered into strategy. For some of us who are also aspiring to go into businesses, she has been able to touch on some of the forces that determines what happens in the market. And I know Prime. In fact, Choma's best bread, my daughter's best bread is Prime.
Okay. Thank you for that.
So at a point, I wasn't, because like you said, it was a new entrant at a point. So I wasn't thinking of Prime. But Choma is somebody who tries out things. That day, in fact, sometimes I say, Choma, go and buy so bread. Choma can go and buy another one by force. And they say that this is the one I just want us to, let's try that. So the day I tried Prime, I just loved Prime.
Thank you.
But you know, as it is, switching from one product to another sometimes can be very difficult because maybe you are emotionally attached and all that. And that was my challenge.
Yes.
So sometimes I will still say, go and buy this one. If we had the opportunity of buying two, you should buy Prime and the other one. I don't want to mention the other name.
Okay.
Okay. But you are here, we have to make publicity. Prime. She's going to pay for that, but anyway.
Sure, you know.
So Prime. But, you know, I want us to be very factual. You know, when we're talking about success, it all depends on the individual sometimes. And you said it from the beginning that.
Okay, is it time for communion? Yes. Okay, let me just take the question and then we'll rush to join.
So, will you be able to take the question before?
Let's go.
We have to go for communion.
Let's go.
All right.
Thank you very much. I'm sure I'll be back.